Hey, Soul Warriors. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by your emotions? Or perhaps disconnected from them entirely? Imagine navigating life's ups and downs with grace, understanding, and a profound sense of inner peace. In today's video, we are diving deep into the heart of emotional intelligence, the key to not just surviving, but thriving in a constantly changing world. Stay tuned as we uncover the secrets to manifesting your emotions and transforming your relationships, starting, of course, with the most important one, the relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. Emotions are a tricky beast.
They really, really are.
So we're going to dive into what is emotional intelligence, also known as an emotional quotient. So if we call it EQ for short, just to save the tongue twister of it all, that's what we're talking about. It's so important just with relationships and jobs and just how we get through everyday life, how we think about ourselves. But the thing that I like about it and how it ties into spirituality is it is the key to the law of attraction. So stick with us. We're going to go through kind of the definition, what it looks like, what you can do to boost that muscle up and really lean into it, and then how it works with your manifestations.
Right, right. I like it because it kind of stays on the same theme of what we're all about. Mm-hmm. It's about knowing yourself.
Yes.
When you wholeheartedly know what triggers your emotions, the emotions that you're using in a reactionary way, things like that. So if we get a better understanding of our emotions, it makes our lives 100% better. That's for sure. Because I remember, for the longest time, I would always get the you feel so emotionally disconnected. Because I was surrounded by very emotional people. And where I was more of my emotions didn't have control of me. I had control of my emotions. So when everybody else was flipping out and being very reactionary and all up in their feelings, I was like, okay, let's handle this one thing at a time. So people felt I was emotionally disconnected.
Got it. And that's a big thing to cue into back when you're a kid and how you grow up and whatever culture you grow up, because your emotional intelligence is set by what you were taught as a kid, what you observed, what you watched on TV, what you heard in songs, of how to react to things and how to interact with things and how you're supposed to feel in certain situations. So you had this kind of a blueprint, if you will, a program put upon you of how you're supposed to act. And you kind of just take that on until you don't.
Right.
And this is when your emotional intelligence really starts to develop, when you start to get curious, when you're tapping into that intuition. I feel like intuition's a big part of this.
Yeah.
When you're listening to that soul part of yourself that's saying, yep, I see that. And I see that everybody around me is doing that, but that doesn't feel good to me, or that doesn't make sense to me. This is when you start to question those preset emotions that are just coming out of you or coming out of the people around you, and then choosing not to react, choosing to interact in a way with empathy, in a way that has compassion, in a way that has curiosity on, why am I feeling like that? Why are they feeling like that? Do we have to feel like that? No.
Right.
This is getting, a million questions, becoming kind of like that private investigator, that detective, first starting with yourself. Because once you start breaking down, okay, why am I feeling like that? What's going on? What's it attached to? What's at the core of that? Where's the root? How can I get a little deeper into that? Or that doesn't even feel like mine, but I'm feeling it really strong. So is it a hereditary bloodline thing that's just running through me? I had something come to me in meditation this morning about something that happened to me a few times when I was younger. And I felt like I dealt with them really well back when they happened. But stuff started popping up. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really feel that anymore. And then I got this really strong, this is a bloodline thing. This has happened on both sides of your families many times to many different people, and it wasn't cleared. So we're using something that, yes, you have dealt with and you've reached a good place for, to bring back up. So now you can emotionally clear what happened in the bloodlines beyond you. Right. So this is a huge tool to use for everything.
Because if you can understand, one, your emotions, and then the emotions of the person that's in front of you, or the people that are in front of you, or people that you're managing, because this works in all aspects of your life. not just personal. It could be, career wise, business wise. You deploy all that stuff, and you will find yourself being in a really good spot.
Right. And that's the end goal. Like, just know that you're not going to be like, okay, I'm aware of this now. I'm emotionally intelligent. This is a muscle that's constantly evolving, and there's different start points. So you're starting, okay, you're little, you're programmed. Awesome. Now you're totally unconscious with this because your subconscious rules the fucking world. The subconscious is the one that's just like has you on autopilot and is knowing what to do. You're only conscious like a really small portion of the time. So if you're like totally running on autopilot subconscious, this is when people are acting up and acting out, and instead of just having emotions flow through and feeling the emotions and dealing with them, they're becoming emotional where it's out of control. So you can step, as you start practicing all these things we're going to talk about, you step from being subconscious to being conscious but incompetent at it. Because now you're conscious, like, okay, I'm starting to observe my emotions, but I can't maybe stop that trigger from happening and that reaction to happening because I haven't gotten down to the root of it and I'm still working on it. And that's okay. Like, that's progress. Eventually, you'll be conscious, like, oh, there's a thing. And you'll be competent. So I'm going to do this instead because you've now started to practice like choosing different things. Eventually, the end, you're going to go subconscious again.
Right.
Because it's going to become routine. Just like when you say you drive home from someplace and then you can't even remember the drive home because you were just deep in thought. Your body, your mind, everything just takes over because it knows what to do. Right. So you're just going from one place, one set of like how your subconscious mind is programmed to you now walking through the steps through the rest of your life to continually program that subconscious. So now that it's on autopilot and can do things with grace, things with more ease, things where what other people say and do no longer are affecting you. Because you're like, okay, that's their perspective, or they're just having an issue. I don't have to take that in, or, ooh, that hurts. That pushed a button that they just said. I need to look at that deeper. I don't need to come at them now because I need to push it away. Understand that if there's a reaction coming out, that is based in fear. Fear will always come out of people emotionally as aggression. Now, it could be somebody having like an angry outburst or throwing a fit, or, I'm taking my toys and going home, marching out. Or it could be the quieter version of the passive aggressive comments and the silent treatment and all that. These are all different forms of aggression. So they come out when there's some sort of fear in your body or in somebody else's body. So knowing that, you can be like, okay, there's something deeper here. So if it's somebody else doing it, I'm curious. I can have some compassion for it. I'm not taking that into my being. I'm not taking on that energy because it's not really about me. Something in them is hurting right now. And then that automatically protects you. Instead of you using reactionary words and pushing energy and people away from you to protect yourself, you protect yourself by getting really emotionally intelligent and being able to navigate your feelings and other people's.
I never equated fear to my emotions, but it's true. I mean, definitely, because when back in the day when I had anger issues, they were definitely rooted on some level of fear, but I never ever looked at it that way. Not until I became more aware where things were coming from was when I was able to understand that they were fear based.
I think this comes down to two things. You've mentioned it several times, as awareness, and the second thing is frequency.
Yeah.
So frequency is when you start to get to know yourself better, you start to vibrate on a different frequency because you're moving more and more into your true core self. So then if you're vibrating on that frequency, you're going to attract different people. You're going to have different types of relationships. So, I mean, learning better communication skills and, healthy boundaries and all this stuff, they're all awesome tools and they're all part of it. But really the deeper and the stronger relationship that you're building with yourself is what rolls out to all of these other things.
Right.
And awareness, it keeps coming back. Are you aware of your emotions? Are you aware of other people's? Are you aware of how you're reacting? Are you aware of why and how they're reacting?
Right.
Key to this is, in my opinion, meditation. And a lot of people think meditation is hard. Maybe we should do a video on meditation.
Yeah, I think we should.
If that sounds good to you, say yes in the comments so that we know, and we'll do that video next week.
Yeah.
a lot of people think meditation is hard. Meditation doesn't work for me. Like a lot of different things that we hear. So let me do a little exercise. Do you see my hand? And if you're watching, you're going to say yes. I just realized a lot of you might just be listening to this. So can you hear my voice? Yes, you can. So that's awareness. That's a form of meditation right there. So you can meditate. If you're doing the program, if it's hard, I mean, it might just be some sort of resistance, like the ego's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that because then I'm less in charge and the soul self's more in charge. Or it might be like, I don't have time. There's too many on the to-do list, things to do that I can't just sit and take 20 minutes to meditate. Then take 5, then take 2, then look at your hand and become present with your hand. Take that second and move on.
There's so many different ways to meditate, by the way, also. Because I was infamous for always saying that I don't have the time to meditate. Mind you, I did. we all do.
We make time for what's important.
Exactly. So I incorporated meditating with my everyday. Like I literally meditate when I'm washing dishes because it's something that I'm doing that's repetitive.
Yeah.
When I'm walking, again, you're doing something that's repetitive, and you're in that present moment. You have to be super aware that you're walking.
Yeah.
So you're
Cars and
paying
potholes.
attention. So this can be applied to your everyday things. You don't have to take time aside to sit down and meditate if you can do it in other ways. Whatever works for you, but that you can't meditate, I'll call bullshit on that because we all can. For those of you that are religious, prayer, that's a form of meditation. And if you do that, you can meditate.
Right. All right. Enough said on that then. But we can really go into all different ways and strategies and how to get you to really shift your belief around that. And speaking of beliefs, questioning your opinions is huge in raising your EQ.
Yeah.
Questioning your opinions means, like, say you had an interaction with somebody, they said something, you didn't like it, then they walk away and you're like, well, why'd they say that? Did they think I'm, and then you fill in this entire story and you have no idea why they reacted the way they did or why they said what they said. Maybe they said something because somebody had just said something to them. Maybe they didn't show up for you in a certain way because they're dealing with something that you have no idea about. So question your opinions is check yourself if you're going into story. If you can, find out the other side of the story. Like, call the person, and you don't have to say, hey, what you said pissed me off or hurt my feelings. Like, you don't have to go there unless you need to really get into it. But get curious first. Like, hey, you seemed a little, distant or something when we met, and I got to thinking about it, and I was just, I wanted to check and see if you're okay. And then just shut up and listen. And let them explain stuff to you. And that gives them the opportunity, first of all, to feel seen, to feel supported, and then now to feel heard because you're going to listen. And then in your head, you're going to be like, oh, their dog had just, gotten sick and they were worried and blah, blah, blah. So they were kind of really internal and worrying about that. And that's why they didn't approach me the way I wanted to. Like, and sometimes maybe it's just that you learn that the other person's not your cup of tea. And to spend less time with them. But like, question yourself first, question the other person, and really stay aware of those stories because we are all master storytellers.
I was just gonna say that the stories that we can create in our minds based on assumption to boot because we don't really know what the hell is going on. They're epic. They can be super epic. An example, I was thinking about someone this past week and noticed that they hadn't reached out or anything like that. But before I got into the story in my head, I simply said they must be going through something or something is happening in their life that they don't have the time for that to reach out or anything like that. The person contacted me this morning. Sure as shit, there's stuff going on for her. So instead of creating the story as to why it's been a week and I haven't heard from this person who I'm used to, talking to several times out of the week, so before even getting into the story, I just kind of sat back and just, okay, there's something has to be going on. And I just kind of like let that be.
Yeah. And then if you realize that you're still just on autopilot going into the story all the time, go with that and play with it. Let your mind go through, like, okay, you get 3 scenarios, go, and let your mind like go down the rabbit hole, and then say, mind, I want to look at the flip side. What are possibilities of the flip side? What can I assume if like is going on with them of why they might have acted like this? Because I feel like I know this person. And let it talk about, like, you know, maybe something happened to their kids, maybe they're sick, maybe, you know, and go through the flip side so that you can see all different sides of the story. This will start to train your mind to look for both instead of just looking at the rabbit hole ones that have you felt like, you know, validated that you've been done wrong. Instead of feeling some sort of like, okay, I'm feeling compassion for myself because that really, it felt like it hurt, but I'm being curious and maybe feeling compassion for them too, because something must have been going on, because that's not our normal interaction. Like, you can walk yourself into these things, and this stuff just takes practice and practice and practice again until it's your new subconscious set point. So if staying out of story is feeling hard, then go with it, but use that to keep it going so you can come to the other side. Because a lot of times when we're railing against something, that's resistance, so it makes it stick around even harder.
Right. And like you said, practice, like real time stuff. Our life is nothing but a test.
Yeah.
and school and all those things. So we can actually practice all this stuff. So start so that you can better reflect and really get to know your emotions on a deeper level so that you are not so reactive in life.
And these are tests that you like to fail, that it's okay to fail, because you're like, oh, that stopping the story didn't work. Resistance, of course. Now I can try this way. Or that didn't work for me. Now I can try that way. If you think of a test as just something that's coming up for you to give you information so that you can make a better choice the next time, that's all it is. We don't have to go again down the rabbit hole of failure and I suck and I can't do this.
Right. The best thing is get curious. I can't impress upon you enough how getting curious gives you that pause and gives you the ability to be open to what's actually happening.
Exactly. And values. I find values is really helps. It grounds me into my EQ because I don't ever want to cross my values, you know, get off of that moral compass for me. So if I'm sticking to that, like, and in my gut sticking to that, I know when I'm approaching the line and I know when I'm crossing the line. I know when something is really on the, yep, this is feeling good to me, to this is not.
Right.
And if it's not, how can I move the meter back? Even just a hair. It's just, it's this whole, the ups and downs of life and how you navigate. It's grace, basically.
Absolutely.
It's practicing grace.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's get into the end point, the law of attraction point of it. Because we've all talked about the law of attraction. You make the vision board and you say the I am statements, and then, yeah, your stuff's not there. And you're like, what? And then sometimes like something will manifest really easy and you'll be like, well, why did that and all of this? Like, no, it's because of your EQ. It's because one of the bases of law of attraction is your emotion. It's that you hear that all the time, like you have to feel it before you see it type of thing. And you're like, how the hell do I do that? Like, at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I got so sick of hearing that. Like, how? I don't get it until you do get it.
Your emotions is the gas pedal. That's what's going to make it go. You know, so you have to apply an emotion because that's what the universe is looking for. It's an energy, it's a frequency. That's what they're looking for within you. So whatever is the strongest emotion, energy, vibration, frequency, that's what they're going to listen to. So if internally you might be in your head saying, but I want this and I want that and I, whatever the case is. But if you're not adding an emotion to that and really feeling it as though it's happening, it's real, it's your life, it's your thing, they're picking up what's internal.
Yeah, they're picking up the emotion of lack.
Yeah.
Is what they're picking up, which is very
Exactly.
dense. And if the emotion and the frequency is lack, it doesn't matter how crystal clear on what you want. It's not It's not going to happen because those two aren't matching. So the more you start choosing positive emotions, positive experiences, that type of thing, the more it builds up your resilience. And resilience is really what you need. You need to be able to keep stepping into the frequency you want, keep showing up for yourself. And the deeper you're going into you, the longer time that you are staying on that frequency.
So if you want to attract good things, the things that really matter to you, sit in the emotions that are in the most highest vibration and serve you the best, so that it can really grab hold of it.
Right. And get proactive about it.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about not being reactive, but then people are just like, I'm not going to be reactive. I'm not going to react right now. And they're saying not. And it's like, if I tell you to don't think of a monkey in a blue t-shirt holding a yellow rose. Don't think that. Don't think about a monkey in a blue t-shirt with a yellow rose.
It's the first thing you think
The
about.
only thing you can think about is that. So if you're like, don't be reactive, your mind's like, I'm supposed to be reactive. The mind does not understand don't or not or don't want. They listen for the action word. The action word is reactive.
Right.
So reactive is getting deeper into your subconscious the more you're just saying, don't get reactive. I want to be proactive. So how can I be proactive? How am I making sure I'm walking into something in the best possible mood and openness and space that I possibly can? And the last thing I want to put in that we have to talk about, faith. It is super important. And it's a huge part of the law of attraction as well. I'm going to use a quarterback because we both love football example. Quarterback, the whole team shows up for practice very regularly during regular season. They're constantly on it. They're running those drills. They're learning their plays. Now you're in the big game and they call a play and the quarterback has the ball. Like that's you with this is what I want. I want to score. I want to manifest that score and win the game. Here you are going into the future. Here's your receiver just running. Now, does the quarterback stand there and wait until the guy hits the X of where his spot's supposed to be to catch the ball and then throw it? No. He has been practicing this internally and in all his interactions with his teammate daily for weeks and weeks and weeks, building all his different muscles, physical, spiritual, mentally. And then when it comes time, he just launches the ball to where he knows that future person is supposed to be, where your future self is there receiving that ball. He's picturing that ball in that receiver's hands, and he is letting it go with complete faith that it will land where it is supposed to and when it is supposed to.
That's it. Be kind.
Peace.